Hello, my friends. Today is Valentine's Day. Yes, it is, in case none of you knew. And I talked with my bestie about what kind of video I could do today because I was putting way too much thought into it. And she was like, girl, you're putting too much thought into it. So I am bringing you guys a video where I just kind of talk about different aspects in books that have a romantic or love vibe to it. I'll explain it as I get to each book. So there's going to be like platonic, self-love, romantic love, family love, all of those kind of things. That's the kind of video that I've put together to kind of give you guys a broad like spectrum of ideas to pick up if you're not just into romantic. Maybe you want like a found family or something. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's dive on in. For this first one, I am going to start with one of my all-time favorite book series, and that is the Penric and Desdemona series. This is a bind up of books, I think 3, 4, and 5, but you can find them all individually. But the love aspect in this is the love that Penric has for his wife. I love whenever his wife comes into the story or whenever he talks about her. I eat it up. He loves her from the bottom of his little soul, okay? She is the world. She is everything to him. And it's the way he talks about her, because he's always like, she's so plump and tiny and lovable and adorable and she's my everything. And it was one of those things where the minute he met her, he was like, I'm gonna marry that woman. And he did. Like, he just knew, and they are absolutely perfect for each other, especially considering he has 9 demon women living in his head. Yeah, you heard that right. You heard that right. And a horse and a lion. He has a bunch of demon women in his head at all times, and they can take over his body and do things, you know, and his wife is so patient with him about that. And I love that aspect. I love the fact that she understands that like this is a whole package and she's gonna have to deal with it all. But what makes it even better is that these demon ladies actually do like his wife. And so there is a level of respect between them. And I just love seeing how it works. And just remember that these are like a very episodic kind of series. It's not like a one big giant series. It's just kind of like each book is like the day in the life of Penric. So his wife doesn't always appear in all of them. But when she does appear, oh, I just love their dynamic. Just one of my absolute, like, just favorite couples of all time. So if you have not checked this series out, I definitely say check it out. It's so fun. And like I said, it's very episodic. So, like, you can just read a book here and there and just have some fun with it. The next one on this list is, again, it's in the family realm of love. And that goes to Orca from The Shadow of the Gods or the Bloodsworn Saga. The love that Orca has for her son, that she is out there committing mass murder to find him. Perfection, okay? There is nothing, that is one of my top like favorite aspects of this series. I still have the final book to read, so don't nobody spoil it for me. But one of the things that like really drew me into this series was Orca's journey to finding her son and getting him back, and the things that she was willing to do and what she still continues to be willing to do to get him back. And I'm just like, there's nothing stronger than a mother's love for her child. Don't mess with us, because she's out there committing the mass murder, okay? I don't want to meet her in a dark alley, okay? Like, but there's nothing stronger than that. Don't mess with a mama and her babies, okay? This next one falls under tragic love, which is, if I'm honest, one of my favorites. I love when a good love story ends in tragedy. Don't ask me why, okay? It's just the whole will they, won't they, oh, now they can never be, just, it gets me. And this is one that tore me to pieces when it happened. So this is a spoiler if you haven't read the series. So do keep that in mind. Like, the only way I can talk about some of these is they're a little bit spoilery, but I will at least tell you guys. And I am talking about The Six of Crows, this is Crooked Kingdom. This is book 2 specifically because this is where the tragedy happens. This is spoiler for who the characters are, so if you don't want to know, you can skip now, but it is for the characters Nina and Matthias. Oh, the tears that I was in when this book happened. This was cruel. This was cruel, but ooh, did I love it at the same time, but it was cruel. It had me in a hot mess. Okay, it was so tragic. And then when you remember the parallels of how the two meet versus how the end comes about, you're just kind of like, just add some more trauma on top of that, please. But I loved it because at the end of the day, these two were actually my two favorite characters throughout the entire duology. I just loved every aspect about the two of them. And when their story came to such a tragic end, it had me messed up. Absolutely messed up. That is the only way. If you want a tragic love story, this is the one. This is one. This one. So this next one falls more under the romance genre because it's a romance book. So it's a romantic love, but it's one that I do genuinely love a lot. I had to spend a lot of time thinking about which was my favorite in this series. And that's going to be Barbarian Mine. So this follows Rook and Harlow. This is from the Ruby Dixon Ice Planet Barbarian series. If you guys will know, 2 years ago, I read this entire series in like 2 months. I don't know what drugs she puts in these books, but oh boy, were they great. But I have spent a lot of time thinking about like which of these couples is the one that I really love their story, and theirs is the one that brings me so much joy, and it's because of how they meet. And it's gonna sound mean, but he hits her in the head with a rock. He knocks her out. But it's like he didn't understand. He was a little feral, okay? Like, to give you an idea of what the stories is, a bunch of Earth women end up on this ice planet, and he lives outside of the general community. He is a feral man just running around on this ice planet. He doesn't talk much. His communication skills are very, very poor because of this, and it's because he grew up just like outside of the community. And the Quee, they have these, I call it a Quee, I don't even know if that's the right pronunciation, but they have a Quee, and when it finds their match, their mate, who they're best to be with, it reacts, and his was doing that, and he was freaking out, and he hit her in the head with a rock. and then kidnapped her. It sounds so bad, but it's so funny at the same time. And she was patient with him the whole way through. And then, of course, after, they get past all of that and they're finally able to communicate and stuff, they actually are just an adorable couple because she's actually extremely smart and he's just a feral animal. And she's like, yeah, that's my husband over there. But he is so sweet, and he is sweet on her, and he does everything that she ever wants. And I'm just like, they're perfect. I love them. They have this, it's my favorite. I'm sorry. There's no really explaining it. Even I myself can't even justify it with myself sometimes. So yeah. This next one is also another that falls in the romantic category, and it's the only 2 books on this list that are actually romance books that come from the romance genre. And that's just because I have a lot of issues with romance genre. But this next one comes from Kresley Cole, and that is Dark Desires After Dusk. God, sometimes her titles are a bit tongue-tied, okay? But this follows Caden and Holly. He is a sweetheart. He's a jokester. He's a funny guy. And one of the things that I did love about him was the fact that he was willing to give up his mate because, yes, this is another series that deals with mates because he is a demon. She is... I don't want to give it away because it's like part of the story, but she is also of a mythological creature thing kind of deal, okay? But he realizes that she's his mate and everything, but he's like willing to give her up for what's happening within the story plot. And he's like taking her to where she needs to go so he can give her up and all this other stuff. But then he ends up like, it becomes really hard, and he's like, nah, like, I really actually love this girl, like, what? But he, like, plays around with her, he jokes with her, she's very serious, and he's, like, the jokester kind of guy, and she's also, like, really shy, and just kind of, like, reserved about certain things, and he's just, like, more forward, but joking about it, but he's also respectful, okay, because we love a respectful man, okay? She tells him, no, I don't want to do that, he says, all right, we won't do that, and I loved that. So that's what this one is. It's like I said, it's an older romance book. So I personally think it's written a lot better than a lot of the stuff that's currently out here on the market. But they're definitely like my favorite couple in the entire like 19 books that are in the Immortals After Dark series. I really love their book. This next one deals with another type of romantic love, but it's not the main point of the story. And that would be the couple from Dragon Quest. This is the second book in the Dragon Riders Return series by Anne McCaffrey. And the couple is Fëanor and Brecky. And it's one of those love stories it's intertwined with the overall story plot that's going on. Because like I said, this is not a romance book. It's a sci-fi fantasy book. There just happens to be a romantic subplot involved in it. And for anyone who doesn't know, the dragon riders are connected to their dragons. Okay, Fourth Wing didn't start that, okay? I may have some slight beef with Fourth Wing. Okay? So whatever emotions the dragons feel, the riders also feel, and so it does create like the sexual attraction to each other. And Brecky has a golden dragon, and Fëanor does not have a bronze. He has a brown. And it plays into their storyline because with the golden dragons, usually just they're queens, and usually just the bronzes mate. But the thing is Brecky and Fëanor, the humans, they have fallen for each other, you know? But their journey is also met with a lot of tragedy, and so you get to see them learn how to overcome the tragedy that has happened to them. And it's honestly pretty horrific, because in this world, if the dragon dies, if the human dies, the dragon will end up committing suicide, essentially. They'll blip out and no one will ever really know what happened to them. It's the dragon's way of killing themselves. And in the reverse, if the dragon dies, the human will either commit suicide or they will become so depressed that they're just kind of like a walking husk kind of thing. And so this plays into the storyline, and it happens within Brecky and Fëanor's story, and you get to see how they overcome and work through that together. And I just really loved it. And also the fact that he got mad at everybody who kept slapping her. He was like, stop slapping my girl. And like at one point his mother had told him to slap her because she was freaking out. She's like, you need to slap her. And he was like, I am not going to slap her. Like Flar would have. Okay. Like everyone is always like, Flar is so great. We love Flar. Fëanor is the better brother. Okay. Fëanor is the better brother. Moving on. This next one is by, and you guys had to have known, if you've been here long enough, you should have known this woman was going to appear on this list somehow, because she gives me a very fairy tale style romance that I love. It just reminds me of this very fairy tale feeling vibe that I love, and that is my girl Patricia. That's my girl Patricia. And I specifically picked the Forgotten Beasts of Eld, which I have like 3-4 copies of this book. I have this one for a specific reason right now, but this one, it's one of those stories. It's like I said, it's very fairy tale-esque, and it just gives me these very sweet fairy tale storybook kind of things, but it's how she just kind of like presents them. But with this one, there is this event that's happening, and our male character who has fallen in love with Sybil, you know, he's going off to war, and he's just like, you know, like, you have to stay behind. And she's like, no, like, I'm gonna go with you. And he's like, no, like, you can't. And this has one of my all-time favorite, like, romantic quotes, like, ever that I've come across. And that's what this one is for, because I have it marked in this one, because this is my anniversary edition. This is another anniversary edition, but for a different. It's like the Master Fantasy Works or whatever. But they're having a little conversation here. So I'm going to read this quote for you. So if it's a spoiler, if you feel like that's spoilery, you can skip as well. But I'm gonna read this quote because I feel like it's the only way that I can really tell you guys like why I love this so much. So, like I said, to set the scene, he's going off to like fight in the war, and she's like, I'm gonna go with you, and he's like, no. He says, I am sorry. And she replies with, no, the only thing you will have to be sorry for is if you die, and then beware, because I will follow you. And he goes, no. And she says, yes, I will not let you wander among the stars alone. And that right there, like that, I feel like that really encompasses the kind of fairy tale style romances that like she writes in like all of her books. It's always something along those lines where it's like, sure, I guess you could say it gives like the whole modern like I'll die for you, I'll do whatever you need kind of thing, but for me it just kind of screams this more like fairy tale feel to it. And it's just the fact that she was so forceful, like Sybil is so forceful in her response to him that she's just like, you're not leaving this world, okay? Like that's not happening. Like if you're going, I'm going, period. End of the story. And I found it just so romantic and I loved it. And maybe you guys don't feel the same like fairy tale-esque vibes from it, but I do. So yeah. It's a little bit harder to explain because it's a very specific type of romance that I don't even know has a name for it. So moving on, I've got 2 more books. And this next one is a found family style. And I know found family is a really big, popular type of love that a lot of people like. I'm a fan of it too. But this one specifically, and that goes to Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Muro. Oh, the found family aspects that happen in this one. Oh my God, I love it. All these children, I've adopted them. They're mine. I'm their mother. I loved it so much. And it's one of those things where you just see it like kind of like gradually grow like as the story progresses, and you just see all these children come together and the detectives that are working with the case, and you're just like, oh my God, it's perfect. Is it a chunker? Yes. Is it a slower kind of story? Yes. But oh my God, the payoff, everything is so worth it. And then just the found family aspect, like it's lovable, it's adorable. It's all these kids who are just looking for someone to just love them, and I'm just like, I love all of you. So yes, found family. This one, I love it. You guys have to. You have to give it a shot at least. Just saying. There's also a really cool fight scene on a train. Just saying. And then the last one on this list is one that is for self-love, and this is something that I don't feel that I come across a lot in books, or at least that I don't really obviously see a lot of the times. And for this one, I picked Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman. I read this one about 4 or 5 years ago, and it has stuck with me ever since then. And it is all about Tess and her journey for learning to love herself again in a world that tells her she should not be allowed to love herself or be loved because she's a horrible person because of certain choices that she made. And so the whole story, you're just following her traveling the road with her little dragon friend and just learning how to love herself again. And it's such an important topic, especially with this being young adult, because so many young adult books focus on the romantic love and not so much on someone's like self-love, especially after going through something that's really traumatic. And that's what happens with Tess. She goes through a very traumatic situation, and the society around her paints her as the problem. It's her fault. She put herself in that position. And of course, none of the blame goes on the other person who took part in the event that led to this. And so her going on this road and this journey and just traveling and learning how to love herself again was just so important. And I just loved every single aspect of it. And I don't ever hear enough people talking about it, especially people who read a ton of YA. And I think it's because it doesn't focus on that romantic love. But I think self-love is super duper important. As someone who struggles to like love herself in general, this is just, it's beautiful. And, I did my fair share of crying reading it because the journey was just so beautiful. So yes, self-love books, like we need more of that. If you guys know of any other books that have characters who learn how to love themselves again after something, please let me know. Drop it down below, okay? So that is everything that I have. It's a nice, like I said, a nice kind of mixture of things. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.